I could push it a bit further, though, I think the fact that he's conflating rape and sexual assault with race
which he's done for years.
awful.
Yeah.
It is atrocious. And, especially from someone who has, shall we say, a questionable record, at least on sexual harassment. These are crimes against women and girls, wherever and whoever the perpetrator is. And that, you'd think if he really has such a problem with rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment, he'd be taking action across the board.
Let's turn our attention to US President Donald Trump. He's taken to his platform Truth Social to announce that America will permanently pause migration from third world countries. He didn't provide details on how this plan would work, but said the move would allow the immigration system to fully recover from the bad policies of the past. And of course, his comments come a day after an Afghan national has been accused of shooting two members of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. And one of them, of course, a 20-year-old, has very sadly died. I mean, it's happy Thanksgiving from US President Trump. I think there are two things that stem from this, Michael. One is it was obvious that this horrific murder would become a political issue because it's an Afghan national who's committed it. And also, and I got to say this very carefully, but there is a big constituency out there that will kind of cheer President Trump saying, that's it, we're not having any immigration.
Yep. I mean, it's dangerous, but it's true. It's unfair to say no more Afghans can come to America, at least not until there's been scrutiny of every single application, which is on hold at the moment, just because there's been one murder. One person doesn't represent an entire nation. Equally, you can't say because Afghans are generally poor from a less developed society or country or whatever you might call it, therefore nobody from countries of that ilk should come to America. Now, that is pure racism, I would say. It really is. It's, nobody who's sort of brown-looking can come to America. I mean, that's just appalling kind of...
But in his first term, he introduced a Muslim ban.
Yeah, well, that was equally appalling. Yeah. I thought that was ridiculous. And luckily enough, Muslim countries, which are both wealthy and influential and pretty sophisticated, complained, and that was quietly dropped. I mean, this is appealing to the worst instincts. Immigration is a problem, sure, but it shouldn't be done on a basis of you are from a poor country, therefore you're going to be a useless and feckless citizen, we don't want you. That's appalling.
It's very difficult to work out where this will go with this story, because not only obviously have you got Trump now saying there's going to be a further crackdown on immigration, but obviously his National Guard policy, which is the sort of militarization of key democratic cities, it's presumably a perfect excuse for him to increase the numbers of National Guard. In fact, I think Hesketh, who we now must refer to as the War Secretary, said that on the president's orders he was introducing an additional 500 National Guard members to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is a very bad idea also, because it's, by coincidence, maybe, shall we say, only Democrat-controlled cities that are getting this treatment, because, it's a way of undermining the authority of Democrats who run those cities, who are fairly defiant of some of Trump's latest shenanigans. But I think the idea of putting the National Guard everywhere, well, the cities are they're not all aflame.
No, absolutely
they're not in chaos. I mean, there are one or two areas where they've always had difficulties with the sort of urban city centres sometimes, but that doesn't mean you need a permanent kind of quasi-military patrol on the streets. I think that's completely unnecessary. It's a political action.
I mean, Thangam, obviously President Trump's rhetoric on immigration and indeed some of his policies are fairly extreme, but you've had some good news for the government this week, which is that you have massively reduced net immigration, which is sort of for two reasons, really. First of all, you've benefited from fantastic Tory policies. And secondly, young people are leaving the country in droves. But it's still a great headline.
It's a great headline, but I mean, both of those things, well, especially the second thing, that young people are leaving the country in greater numbers than they're arriving. I think that's incredibly sad. I also feel sort of kind of gruntled at, if that's a word.
It is.
Okay, well, I think Donald Trump deciding that he has the right to comment on our migration policy is damn cheeky. And as he's doing it...
I think that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, damn cheeky. I mean, first of all, just to shorthand it, I agree with everything Michael just said and then some, but I also wonder whatever happened to give me your poor, your huddled masses, or whatever the slogan is. Whatever happened to Donald Trump's understanding of his own country's history, of how that country was built on migration? And when he talks about America...
Well, I mean, he's got a German father and a Scottish mother.
The utter hypocrisy of it. I feel absolutely enraged. But when it comes to him deciding that he's got the right to attack our own country's migration policy, whether it's your government or mine, Ed, I have a real problem with a democratically elected leader commenting on the policies of another
No, it's
democratic.
appalling. It's appalling. We all agree on that.
Yes.
It's a
But
massive,
also,
massive liberal consensus here.
well,
We
I'm
need
glad
we
to hear
need
it.
listeners to text in to put us right and tell us why Donald
If I
Trump.
could push it a bit further, though, I think the fact that he's conflating rape and sexual assault with race
Yeah,
is
which he's
is
done for years.
awful.
Yeah.
It is atrocious. And, especially from someone who has, shall we say, a questionable record, at least on sexual harassment. These are crimes against women and girls, wherever and whoever the perpetrator is. And that, you'd think if he really has such a problem with rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment, he'd be taking action across the board.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in.
Did?
Are you stupid? Are
Oh,
you a
no.
stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person.
Unfortunately, today, as most families join together to give thanks for the blessings that have been bestowed upon them, two families are shattered and destroyed and torn apart as a result of the actions of one man. First and foremost, our hearts go out to the victims and their families. These are dedicated service members who were performing their duties in service to our nation, and they are currently in critical condition. They have undergone surgery. We pray for their well-being as they continue to be cared for in the best possible way. Sarah and Andrew, I believe, were sworn in less than. The two National Guards men that we're talking about are Sarah Beckstrom, who's 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, who is 24 years old. They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful. They answered the call, they took the charge, they volunteered, they put their lives on the line for people they don't even know. Yesterday on Thanksgiving Eve at approximately 2:15, near 17th and I Streets in the northwest section of the district, near the Farragut West Metro Station, two uniformed guardsmen were ambushed in a brazen and targeted attack. A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. One guardsman is struck, goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times. Fellow guardsmen who were there responded immediately, engaging the suspect, neutralizing the threat, and subduing him at the scene. He was transported to a local hospital where he remains, as we speak, under heavy guard.